In this week's parasha, we're introduced to Avraham Avinu, our forefather, the first Jew, the guy who changed the world, the guy who went around explaining to everybody, person by person, how there's one God, monotheism, Hashem Echad. He's going person to person, making a difference. So it's interesting. On the one hand, he's the first Jew. On the other hand, what made him great? He was a universalist. He went out there trying to change everybody. Okay, so we said Avram's the first Jew, which is an interesting thing. Was he really a Jew? There are halakha books that write about this topic. Was Avram a Jew? Was Yitzchak a Jew? Was Yaakov a Jew? According to Hazal, the forefathers kept the mitzvot. So there was some kind of concept of Judaism. And when it says that Avram went out and tried to inspire the masses, but at the nefesh asher asu b'Haran, and like the souls that he made in Haran, so many of the commentators say he taught them Torah. He taught the world Torah. But the question is, where is Torah? And what kind of Torah? The Sheva Mitzvot B'nei Noach? Which halachot? There's a Gemara that goes so far as to even say that Avraham Avinu kept the rabbinical laws like Eruv Tavshilin. There's another statement of Hazal that Yaakov Avinu kept the Techum Shabbat. He used to make the boundaries on Shabbat. So what's it all about? Is it literal? Is it not literal? So depending which of the commentators you read, some will take it more literally, some will take it more spiritually. The Hasidim, the Hasidic masters, they're going to take a lot of this very literally. I saw an interesting idea in the Meshech Chochmah. The Meshech Chochmah explains that what does it mean that Avraham fulfilled the mitzvah of Eruv Tavshilin? So he doesn't take it literally. He takes it symbolic. Eruv Tavshilin is the mitzvah, is the rabbinical law, that if Yom Tov falls on Erev Shabbat, if Yom Tov is a Friday, you put aside certain food, you make a certain statement, and then you're allowed to cook on Friday for Shabbat. What kind of mitzvah is this? So says the Gemara, why would somebody do that? Just cook everything in advance. Nowadays, with all the electronic stovetops, most of us, we're cooking our food in advance. Unless you want the good, the fresh, the tasty stuff, it's easier, cook it a day in advance. But says the Gemara, no. Do you want to know why we do an Eruv Tavshilin? Because what happens if some guests show up on Yom Tov, and they want to stay for Shabbat, and you don't have enough food? So you made Eruv Tavshilin, you can quickly make a bunch of food, make fresh, hot stuff for the guests that come in. Says the Meshech Chochmah, that's Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu loved Hashem, loved spreading Judaism to the whole, loved helping people, loved Chesed. He was that's what he was all about. He went so far to even complete the mitzvah de Rabbanan of Erev Tavshilin. Not necessarily that he kept the actual mitzvah, but in the concept, in the philosophy, he was such a Jew, he even understood that mitzvah de Rabbanan. Says the Meshech Chochmah, Yaakov, he's the one that built the Techumin. He made the boundaries for Shabbat. He says when he got to the city of Shechem, they set up the boundaries over there. Says the Meshech Chochmah, Yaakov was a little bit different. Yaakov already, the Jewish people were already being founded. It's Yitzchak, Yaakov. Now we have 12 tribes. And once he has his 12 sons, now it's time to take a step back a little bit and start working on the family. He starts creating boundaries. So while Avraham symbolized Chesed, he's going out there trying to get to every single person in the world, Yaakov's starting to focus on his family. To the point that some commentators, Rashi, we see in Vayeshev, there's a little bit of a critique of Yaakov. Vayeshev Yaakov, why are you sitting back right now? You got to be out there changing the world. But from one angle, no, I have to focus on my family. I got to teach them Torah. I got to create those boundaries. So what is it? Is a Jew about going out there, or is a Jew about creating those boundaries? So we see different times might call for different ideas. Sometimes we have to be focused more on the outside. Sometimes we have to be focused more on ourselves. But interestingly, when it comes to Avraham, we said fulfill the Torah, or at least some form of spiritual Torah. But there's one mitzvah that Avraham did not fulfill until Hashem tells him to. And that's the mitzvah Brit Milah. At the end of the parasha, God tells Avraham, you got to fulfill the mitzvah Brit Milah. Why didn't he do it before? I thought he kept the whole Torah. Okay, so one answer that I saw is, yeah, you kept the whole Torah, but you can't keep a mitzvah, like hurt yourself, make a cut in yourself until God tells you to. But the Beit HaLevi says a little bit differently. Says the Beit HaLevi, why did Avram not do a Brit Milah earlier on? Because Avram was scared. Avram thought that if I went out there and I'm trying to change the world, if I make a Brit Milah, that'll make me very different. I won't be like everybody else. How am I supposed to be able to relate to everybody? How am I supposed to inspire other people if I'm doing a brit? That's already so different. I'm cutting myself off from everybody else. And that was the actual real test of the Brit Milah. It's not that he was so old and it's such a difficult procedure. That's true also. But the real test was, Avraham says, how could I do this? I can't relate. I'm going to be different. And I want to relate, and I want to be able to connect, and I want to be able to inspire. But interesting, in the exact same command where God is telling him to be different, God is telling him to separate himself from everybody. God also says at that point, change your name to Avraham, which means Avraham Goyim. You're not going to be the father of many nations. And Hashem is kind of giving him a little bit of a hint that in doing this mitzvah that separates yourself, you're actually going to become the person who's going to inspire the other people. Because what does it mean to separate yourself? So there's another thing we're going to find in next week's parasha with the Akedah. Hashem's going to command Avraham, you and Yitzchak, go over to that mountain. And Avraham's going to go, and he's going to take with him three people. He's going to take Yitzchak, and he's going to take the Shnei Na'arav, Eliezer, according to the Midrashim, and Ishmael. They're going to follow them too. And as they go, they're going to look far ahead. They're going to get to this mountain. And Avraham's going to see a cloud. And he's going to turn to Yitzchak. He's going to say, Yitzchak, what do you see over there? Yitzchak's going to say, I see this cloud, symbolizing Hashem, symbolizing the Kedusha, symbolizing the spirituality. Then he's going to look at Ishmael and Eliezer. He says, what do you guys see? And they're going to say, we don't see anything. So Avram's going to say, okay, you guys stay here with the Chamor. Chamor symbolizes the Chomer, the physicality. Okay, you guys stay back. You don't see the spiritual. You guys stay back. And Avram's going to go up with Yitzchak, and they're going to have a major spiritual experience. They're going to get major Kedusha. And then Avram tells them, though, before he leaves, V'nashuvu alechem. After we go and have our spiritual experience, we're going to come back, and we're going to bring it back to you. And that's what it means to be a Jew. There are times we're going to have to separate. We're going to have our Kedusha. We're going to have our Brit Milah. We're going to have to make ourselves holier. Set up our boundaries. It's interesting. Yaakov sets up the boundaries where? In the city of Shechem. He makes the Techum over there. And what do the Bnei Yaakov tell the Bnei Shechem? You want to become one of us? You guys got to do Brit Milah. You got to create boundaries. You got to create Kedusha. You got to separate yourself. But after you separate yourself, V'nashuvu alechem, we're going to come back to you. We're going to inspire the rest of the world. We're going to do our mission. Hashem tells Avraham, do you know when you become Avraham with the hay? Do you know when you're going to inspire the world? When you separate yourself a little bit and get that Kedusha.